down and mute your mic.
Mute it.
Just hold-
Okay, so this is the July 12th, 2021 meeting of the Conservation Commission. Thanks, everyone, for being here. And I think most of you have the agenda in front of you, hopefully, and we're just going to go down the list. So we were to have a guest, Andrew Butler, here. Actually, he was supposed to be here in June, and we canceled that meeting, as you recall. And so I did invite him to come today, and he was unable to make it. So I did send an email around to you. So Andrew Butler is a graduate student at UNH, and he emailed me requesting permission to conduct research on the Arthur Chase Town Forest. This is one of several properties around the state where he is doing research on fur-bearing animals, I guess is what they're called, for lack of a better word.
Spoken like a soil.
And he wants, and so I sent you his proposal. I don't know if any of you had a chance to look at it. He, he requested to put a trail cam or an animal cam on the Arthur Chase Forest, and he also later in the year would put out some kind of non-invasive
Sand traps, right?
Tracking.
Sand track.
tracking traps. Yes. Sorry, I should just let Haley talk about this because this is her area of expertise, and I'm clearly butchering it here. But anyway,
You're doing a great job.
So I have his objectives up here. He wants to actually look at the efficacy of using non-invasive approaches like the cameras in comparison to the animal, or I guess the more traditional track stations. And so anyway, he was requesting permission to do that. Since we didn't meet in June, and he wanted to get his research started as early this summer as possible because he's a graduate student and he only has a year to do the work, I consulted with Haley, who is a wildlife specialist with New Hampshire Cooperative Extension and who's familiar with the project, and I decided to go ahead and grant him permission because it seemed minimally invasive and like something we could potentially get some interesting information from. If any of you have a concern with that in retrospect, we should certainly, you can voice your concerns now, but that's what I decided to do, so.
Thank you, sounds like a great,
That sounds like a good decision.
appropriate decision.
Okay, and he did install one camera on Arthur Chase, and I think the track stations, go in the fall. And he also has a camera on Saddleback Mountain, but that's UNH property. But that's, that's in Deerfield, but it's not a property that we manage, so.
I think he also has one at Quarry Wildlife Management Area.
Okay. I was going to say this is in collaboration with Fish and Game, so which is probably why one of the reasons he's at Quarry. I don't think we need to do any vote or anything. I mean, it's kind of already a done deal, so.
Question, how does the tracking track work?
It depends what kind he's using, but he's likely putting out like piles of sand and using a lure to attract fur bearers to come and leave footprints and then checking them on a regular basis.
Okay, so it's just looking at the footprints.
Yeah, it was described as sand tracking stations.
So if I go out and walk that trail, I should not step in that?
My guess is he's,
If
yes.
you don't want to get
My guess
tracked.
is, my guess is he's gonna put it off trail, but even then, like a dog or something might be lured into that trap and leave tracks behind, but you'll be able to determine what species left it based on the size and characteristics.
Usually they put up some signs in the area just letting you know what's going on so that you don't stumble upon it and think there's some archaeological dig going
Yeah.
on. Somebody's
And
mining
yeah, I
for
think
treasure.
they are well off the beaten track. Like the one on Saddleback Mountain is all the way at the north. It might even be in Northwood. It's all kind of at the north end of the property. So, where probably there aren't too many people. But anyway, okay. We have a few membership items. So actually, it says oath status for Joanne, Josh, actually the 4 new members. What do we need to do for that?
Nothing, it's just, you've all.
Oh, did you
you've
do
all-
it? Okay.
You've all sworn to Kelly.
Sword Kelly.
Yes, I did, I didn't.
Yes, I know you did.
It's okay, so okay, then it's all confirmed. I guess you already knew that. And then the other two items are that so Jim Deely, who I had kind of hoped would be here tonight, he was going to be here in June, and of course we didn't meet, but he was on the commission a few years ago and then moved off the commission to go onto the school board, but now he's interested in coming back if we, would like another alternate. So we have one more slot as an alternate. So I had suggested that he come and talk with us about that.
Sure.
Why are you smiling?
Crazy. It felt like we were begging for so long, and now people
I know,
are banging
years
down
and
our
years.
door.
I know, it's crazy.
Zoning board is the same way. We have a full board, full of alternates. It's like everyone kind of got motivated to
Yeah.
do civil service when they could do it from their couch.
It's true.
Oh, that's, yeah,
Ebbs
good
and
point.
flows, yeah.
Another benefit of Zoom,
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. And then I was also contacted by Jim McDonald about being involved in this case, possibly as a volunteer to start, unless, a seat or something becomes open. I thought he was also planning to attend a meeting, but I'll reach out to him again and remind him when we meet. So that's all I have on membership at this point. Just going down the list, in terms of the Marston Family Town Forest, that is now a completed project. Yay. Those documents were signed on, I guess, last week. Yeah, the 6th.
So do you believe it now, Judy?
I haven't seen a video.
I forgot to take a picture, sorry.
Couldn't get the minutes.
Errol
We
or-
got two witnesses here.
That's true.
We both saw it signed.
Signing?
Doing a happy dance on film.
But I would print the minutes, keep a copy.
Yeah,
Yeah.
they're not up yet. I tried to, but
Yeah.
they're not posted yet.
I mean, it was very short. They were trying to squeeze, because I had a meeting at 6 and had to leave, so they were squeezing me in between the public hearing and the next thing. So we had all of about 3 minutes to do it, so.
And now, did you speak with Katrina at all?
Very briefly.
Briefly? No, she didn't say what's next. Is she going to cut a check?
I will follow up with her.
Yeah.
I think,
That and
yeah.
and recording of the deed.
If I'm
Or
not
not the
mistaken,
deed, but
since
the
it was the
Documents.
Board of Selectmen, I think, that signed that, and I think, didn't Mr. Harrington say that he would get it off to the, or is it Katrina that's gonna get it off to the Registrar of Deeds?
so he was going to notarize it, and she was going to pick it up, so I assume she was taking it wherever it needed to go, but I'll follow up with her,
I think-
unless there was a conversation after I left, so.
I think it's usually up to Bear Paw. Bear Paw usually gets the easements recorded. But
Right.
I just want to make sure that we get,
Yeah, and then my question would just be what triggers that $50,000 reimbursement to the conservation fund?
Yeah, I thought it was just the closing and finalization with L-Chip, but I will follow up with her on that. It's a good question.
Is that a Katrina matter,
Yeah, well, I think so. She's been the one communicating with L-Chip on our behalf. I mean, it does feel fairly anticlimactic, because we've been working on this for so many years. I don't know, it's, suddenly done, and it feels like we should have a party or something, but that probably won't happen.
Hike in the woods.
Yeah, at Marston.
Maybe we can go on a hike sometime. But anyway, I think we can now remove that.
we can look at the drone pictures.
What's that?
We can look at the drone pictures, which is next on our.
That's right. So the next item is that Rue Till from Bear Paw also emailed me. They're doing, trying to get some drone footage of the Great Brook corridor, and she asked for permission to include the Marston Town Forest in that footage. So that was happening, I think, tomorrow.
We have to give permission for them to fly a drone over it? or-
Yeah.
Well, that was her question, and I said I didn't know, and so we put her in touch with John Harrington just to make sure that the town knew about it and didn't have any concerns. But she didn't get back to me, so I assume they went ahead.
I would assume that would have to be something that would be like in the deed restriction or in a town warrant article for restrictions. I don't know what the
There's not, she looked in the zoning and said she didn't find anything.
We have nothing in the
which
zoning
actually
ordinance
would-
about it,
You
yeah.
know there isn't.
About flying drones, you mean?
Yeah, no,
And
and people are getting upset about some drones though, so there may be something that comes.
Yeah,
up.
that was my only concern, that, people, that, I have seen on the town Facebook page, people getting concerned about that or upset. But I figured this is over property that's where there aren't that many people around, so.
Wasn't Ben Minner gonna do something like that? I don't remember what, for what purpose or.
Well, he flies drones, so we had just said maybe you could
Mhm.
do something for us sometime, but that never really went anywhere.
Was you've not
So.
done anything like that? No.
No. I'd love one, I'd love a drone. I think they're so cool for photography. Oh,
I
man.
figured, yeah.
Somebody's flying one on South Road.
Yeah?
Yeah, I think
From a
that's,
liability perspective, it seems that we just want to make sure that the operator was duly licensed. It is an FAA issue.
Is there a license for drones?
Oh, yeah.
There's insurance too, I think.
Oh, really?
400 feet or lower, I think you have to stay. And it has to be line of sight as part of the drone deal, I think. So I don't know how you do that over the whole area.
I think
oh,
a lot
that's,
of people
yeah,
break
that's
that law.
interesting.
In true New Hampshire fashion, the only RSA on the books for drones in New Hampshire is that you can't photograph hunters and fishers while they're hunting and fishing.
You
That
can't, you
would-
can't
that
use
would-
them in the act of hunting and fishing.
Right.
The act of, okay.
Radios, two-way radios, any of that stuff.
Does it extend, to harassing them? Well, no, harassing is an issue.
It's the only RSA that there is. It's the only thing that they actually legislated.
I know it's illegal to shoot them down.
I heard
You
that
can't,
too.
yeah, you can't shoot, but all the rest of
What
it
about
is federal,
slingshots?
I believe, isn't it?
I think that's
All the rest
probably-
of the regulations are federal.
I believe so, yeah.
So, hopefully we'll see some interesting drone footage from the Great Brook Corridor. That would be fun.
Are they just putting together like a video of their easement properties, or?
That was my understanding. I don't really know
What
the
is that word?
details.
Tablet.
For permission like that,
Mhm.
would the select board need this board's recommendation, or would they just give that authority?
You mean for this type of request for flying
Yeah,
drones?
They're asking the Conservation Commission for permission, right? Or are they asking the town?
Well, she asked me for permission, but she didn't really know who to ask, and I said, I'm not sure if we're the people to ask, so I think you should call the town and ask John Harrington, and,
My guess is that this is probably one of those things that you just don't want to really ask.
Beg forgiveness, I believe.
Yeah.
Because no one's going to be able to answer it, because it's not one of those questions that's come up, so there's no policy, like, people are just going to be like, oh, you probably shouldn't then, like.
You know,
Well, there's, yeah.
the deed actually does say that the property is managed for the town by the DCC. So it kind of circles back to the DCC.
I would
just-
say we take the authority.
I
Yeah,
don't,
no, that's what I'm getting at, is that the Board of Selectmen will wish or wash or do both. But if it is, as you say, our authority to do that, then if we have a positive statement on it, then the Select Board would, would act on that recommendation. That's what they typically do.
And it actually, since Bearpaw is actually the deed holder, they probably didn't have to ask anybody except themselves. You wanna
well,
take it
I mean, I'm happy to take a vote and then let her know that that's what we agreed. I think the filming is, the filming is tomorrow, and so I assume they've already made a decision one way or the other. But I'm happy for us to take a vote if we want to do that, and just let her know that
So
we're,
moved.
okay.
Second that.
All right,
I'd
so,
just like to say one thing about that before we vote, which is that I'm gonna vote for it, but I'm gonna vote for it because of the nature of what the drone is doing, not because it's a drone for other reasons. I don't know how to put it exactly, but in terms of support for conservation purposes, I think this is probably a good idea, which is why I would support it.
You're supporting the use. not-
Yeah.
The
not-
use
Right.
of this, at this one time,
Not
I'm
Right.
not saying that
Everyone
people
should-
like me who just want to fly drones should be able to fly it over conservation area. I don't think that's what we're deciding now.
right, so this is a one-time
Right.
permission
For this
for,
purpose.
for this particular purpose, this request. So we have a motion by Errol and a second by Josh, and we had some discussion. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Okay, so I will just let Rue know
Got
that.
something done.
Yeah. Okay, so easements and land protection. Okay, I should have left my computer open because this, I might have to look up to jog my memory, but I received, so this is the McCarran Road subdivision, map 413 lot 7. I was contacted by Mark West, who is a consultant on this issue. If any of you know any more about it than I do, please speak up. My understanding is that this subdivision there's now a required open space portion of the subdivision due to a wetland violation. And so I guess the developer is now required to set aside some of the property, 3.8 acres, for this open space area that would be under conservation easement. I think we've had this conversation before about this parcel, like some years ago, and we decided we didn't want to be involved. And according to Mark West, he's contacted Southeast Land Trust, Bear Paw, other land trusts who are not interested in holding this easement. So he approached us to see if we would like to hold the easement. He said, but he understood that we may not want to.
Does this parcel have any beneficial use that we could put on it? I mean, is it a place for a bike trail or a walking trail or anything?
My understanding is that there is minimal benefit.
The habitat is not, it's been destroyed and recreated and,
That's my understanding.
Who's gone down to see the McCarran Road development?
been there before it was finished, when it was early on, so I haven't seen how it went awry. You know, I saw the site when it was originally planned, but that's many years ago now.
Yeah. That's all, just one, from the end of McCarran Road, it's just, one road.
Yeah, just down in a lollipop and back,
Yeah, that's,
and some bad drainage,
that too.
It's a what?
some bad drainage.
Oh, okay.
Question that I have is if we don't do it, and I'm not inclined to think we should, who would end up doing it? And if nobody does it, does the land revert somehow to something else?
Does it become a building lot again?
Yeah, well, I don't think it would.
It
but-
wouldn't, but
I had asked Mark to try and come to the meeting to give us more information because the email that I got was quite brief. He
The
was not
planning
able
board-
to be here,
the
so.
planning board discussions on this subject seem to make it clear that it's gotta be, there's gotta be a conservation easement on that. That's what it's gonna be.
so they can do their own conservation easement on it that's controlled by the association that, for the neighborhood, or?
In theory, I guess, but my understanding is that none of those ever work.
No,
And they can't hold the easement. They could own the land jointly, but they can't hold the easement.
Because it's their own.
You have to be like an accredited, like there's fiscal, like only certain organizations and entities are allowed to hold a conservation
Certified
easement.
land trust.
Can they put it in trust?
They could put the land in a trust, but the trust could not hold the conservation easement.
the one on Middle Road, between Middle and South Roads in the triangle there, that 11-house development that went up 20 years ago, we got them to put a conservation easement in there because they mismapped the land, and they claimed there was no wetland up there, and I took the planning board up and showed them the dam. And then all of a sudden, there was like 11-acre parcel. Does this commission, do we hold that? Do we know, do we have a map of the lands that we control? Or I know there's a conservation easement on it, I just don't know who holds it, yeah.
There was the other one down on, what's that?
Cottonwood Estates.
Cotton, and that was a disaster from the start. They sold the land from one developer to another, and
Oh, that's-
one didn't pass the word on what they're supposed to do, so there's easement there, but, that's where we've had all these issues, isn't it?
This
With
is the
the,
same.
people, and that's what's gonna end up with this 3.8 acres. It'll end up being, overrun with
Four-wheelers.
four-wheelers, exactly. So my concern is that somebody responsible should hold the easement, but I'm not sure that it should
It
be.
seems like it's a liability to me, that it's gonna need more money and upkeep just to try to get it back to being something that's actually of minimal value anyway.
Brown's Mill is an example of that as well. You've really got several options. Percentage of fee ownership by homeowners. Brown's Mill subdivision and Cottonwood are like that. Fee ownership conveyed to town, CE to town, conveyance to a qualified land trust. And Brown's Mill, that got complicated because the stewardship is by DCC. Actually, the homeowners association with DCC oversight. It gets really complicated, and if you don't have a homeowners association like you didn't have with Cottonwood, they don't want a homeowners association. You don't have any control. There is one contact person for a homeowners association in Browns Mill, but we've never really.
How's that oversight happen?
Really,
Somebody
how-
has to go
You have
inspect
to-
it and go, hey, you're dumping
Most
road
you
sand
can
in
do
here.
is DCC could go to them and encourage them, go with them for monitoring and that sort of thing, just kind of educate them and push them in the right direction. And as long as nothing goes wrong with the easement, you're all
Let's
right,
push
probably.
barriers aside and put.
So we could take a decision tonight, or we could tell Mark that we would like him to come and, because we have questions and would like to know more.
Does anybody think that there would be a situation where it would be good for the Conservation Commission and the town to be responsible for this parcel?
No, and I think for the same reasons that the local land trusts are not interested, is that it's such a small parcel that the logistics and finances associated with like monitoring it on a regular basis and doing stewardship of that small of a parcel outweighs any potential benefits. Unless it had some exemplary natural community or exemplary, recreational opportunity, which does not sound like it's the case. But either way, I would be interested in learning more, especially why DES is mandating this as the mitigation for whatever mishap occurred. 'Cause it'd
And
be
what
good-
happens if no one steps forward
Yeah,
to
so
do
those
it?
two things, because it would be good to understand going forward, if this does continue to happen in developments around town, which, there are, oddball situations where it seems like it continues to, for whatever reason. Why is this the mitigation that's being decided on? And then, what are the potential paths forward if DCC and the land trust are not interested?
A significant donation to the Deerfield Conservation Commission's budget for purchasing additional acreage of value.
Yeah, great idea.
I mean, that's why, a little bit like, why do they think this, which it appears the 3.8 acres is half wetland, half upland, and it's 3.8 acres.
So
It's like a
small.
building lot that
Is-
they couldn't build on. They're just like, oh, how about if we do this?
Right,
Does that
Right.
make you forgive us? You know?
right.
All right, well, if
The-
others are interested in talking to Mark, I'll ask him to come in.
Does the
Yeah,
DES typically have anything in,
Josh?
sorry,
I'm sorry. On these open space subdivisions, isn't that a requirement?
For an open space
Yeah.
subdivision,
Okay,
it is a
subdivision.
requirement, yes.
And I thought that's what this was.
Well, I probably misspoke when I explained
Don't
it.
think
This,
this is.
this is actually, so it's not an open, I don't think it's an open space subdivision. This is a mitigation because of a wetland violation.
They filled some stuff that they weren't supposed to fill or did something.
Without getting a permit.
Without,
Oh.
Yeah.
very badly. And
This
apparently it
is-
was pretty blatant based on the outcome.
right, well, the whole thing was FUBAR, and planning board actually almost killed it, but didn't quite, and that's why it's still alive a little bit. But somebody else said they'd come in and fix it, and that's how the DES got involved. So my question was gonna be, if the DES mandates something, do they have a mechanism or anything? It's, I guess, a question for Mr. West.
Yeah, I don't know. So let's see if he'll come in and enlighten us, even if, yeah, I think we kind of know where this is going, but we could learn something, I think,
I think that's,
from talking
Sure.
with him.
Can't hurt.
Okay, let's see. We have a number of other projects here, Project 38, 39, and 40, but I don't think there's much to discuss there until Katrina comes back and talks with us in more detail, unless someone else has information on any of these. I think right now she's focused on getting things wrapped up for Marston, and then perhaps she'll come back to us next month and revive conversations around these other projects. But I'll follow up with her on that. Oh, there was, so I guess there is one property here that I can talk about. That's Baker. So this is the line Baker property abutting quarry. So this is a property on Mount Delight Road that is an old hill farm. And it, as it says here, abuts Quarry Wildlife Management Area. And I got an email from Jim Ayler at Fish and Game. He's been in touch with us about this in the past, and he was just wondering kind of whether anything has changed. And that's because, as I understand it, and again, maybe some other of you know more, remember more than I do, but there is, a right-of-way on that property that allows people to get into quarry, but the landowners and others are kind of grumbling about the access to quarry. And so Fish and Game would like to have a strip at a minimum that is under conservation that would allow access without encroaching on the property. Or, I think this is a really, at least according to Kate Hartnett, I talked a bit to her, this is a really beautiful property in the headwaters of the Lamprey River and some of the last road frontage in the Lamprey River. So there's just interest in whether the landowners might be open to conservation. But I think this has been a very long-standing, decades-long conversation. So I'm just mentioning it because I got an email just asking, what the status is. And so I talked a bit with Kate Hartnett. She's going to talk to Jim Ayler, and I thought we would just try to figure out kind of where we're at on this property. I don't know if anyone knows anything about it or.
No, I've never been out there.
I don't know anything about the Baker property. So Jim hasn't spoken with them? It's just that the conversation had maybe been had in the past at some point?
Yeah, I know that he and Kate they have approached the landowners in the past, but I think it kind of went dormant.
Yeah.
And so now there's just, I guess he was just kind of reaching out to see if we could revive the conversation. So I guess it's just a heads up that there's some conversation around that, but it's very early stages. So that's it for easements and land protection at this point. There's the section on trails, which I think we talked about this last time, and that is that Bear Paw is doing some signage on the Great Brook corridor, and they had asked us if we had input on the signs, and I think we, as I recall, sort of deferred to them in terms of what those signs might look like. There's some proposed wording here that I guess perhaps Al and Rue Teal with Bear Paw kind of worked out. I'm not sure that there's anything for us to do on this. I think this is just an FYI. I don't know if anyone has questions or comments on that.
Not unless they want to hear it, so.
What's that?
Not unless they want it, so.
And then the volunteer project request of Julie DaCosta, I haven't heard any more on. I don't know if you've heard any more from her or not. Okay.
If you get Jim involved, then maybe we can get involved with her.
Yeah, again, for the new folks on the commission, some of these things we leave them on the agenda just as placeholders or as reminders, because otherwise they fall off and we forget what we've been working on. So we don't always have updates on every bullet point. But I do have some updates on Lindsey Flanders under the Stewardship and Easement Monitoring section, and that is that Alan Perkins picked up the signs that I ordered. These are the no snowmobile, ATV, or dirt bike signs, and he put those on Lindsey Flanders. I think I sent around photos that he had sent. I do not have an update from Brian as to whether the game cameras have been installed. I don't know. Has anyone else heard from him on that? I will just ping him again, or I don't know if you see him and want to ask.
Sure, I'll ask him.
Okay, that'd be great. They're neighbors,
Oh.
so.
So where did that end up? His were stolen, so he ended up borrowing them from Fish and Game. from the
Oh, I
house.
forgot about that. So wasn't he gonna, so he was gonna order some?
I don't know. I don't know where we ended up with that, so I just wonder. And we
Yeah,
ha-
so we gave him, we voted on allowing him to purchase several,
Right.
and then, but I don't know if he ever purchased those. I don't remember the part about them being stolen.
Like, I think he was gonna
His
use
were.
his personal cameras, and then he realized that a
His
couple
were
had been
stolen.
stolen or.
I see, and then we gave him permission to buy new ones.
This just says installation of game cameras loaned from Fish and Game, but that's not the case, correct?
I see what you're saying. Yeah, so he was gonna buy new ones.
Do the signs that say no snowmobiles, ATVs, and dirt bikes say who's posting them? Do they say Deerfield Conservation Commission or Town of Deerfield, or,
They do not, they're
RDL.
generic signs.
yeah?
We do have, we do have little signs or decals that demarcate the property, and I don't know,
I've got one here.
We could put some boundary markers right below the sign. That's
Yeah,
a good
maybe
That
we
idea.
lets
should do
people know,
that.
like, that this isn't just somebody
Yeah.
posting these, this is official, that, we mean it.
So.
That's a good
As an
idea.
instrumentality of the town, why doesn't it say that the town is posting?
Oh, because we'd have to get them custom printed, it would cost more probably.
Okay.
Yeah,
But, I
these are
mean-
just generic signs that we were able to
No,
get
no, no, I'm
offline.
saying, but the little, if you're gonna put something onto the existing generic signs indicating, by authority of the town, I mean, people might be a little more mindful if they knew that the town
Yeah.
was authorizing these, not
Or who
the
to call if they have a question,
conservation. Exactly.
you know?
Yeah, so that's why we have these decals that
Yeah.
say Deerfield Conservation
That'd be-
Commission,
that's
and we
fine.
could just put those right under the sign or next to it.
That would be my request, just to let somebody know, like, when you post a no trespassing sign, you put your name and address on there and a way to get in touch with you, so that they can then call and say, well, I really just want to go down there and put some traps,
Yeah.
or whatever, right? Yeah.
I mean, with that said, and to your point, Errol, I mean, all of our properties could use some more elaborate signage that inform people, like, who owns them and the permitted uses and the prohibited uses, and we know that. And, when Rue Teal and Bear Paw are kind of undertaking this effort to revamp the signs on their properties,
Right.
and so we were kind of letting them take the lead first, seeing what kind of template they came up with, and perhaps just replicating that on ours eventually as we gain
Yeah.
some bandwidth, which now we have.
So these are, we have like 1,000 of these, or we bought 1,000 of those, and we use those on the boundaries for all of our, like the town forests.
Posters,
Yeah.
I was just thinking the same thing.
Frisbees. Well, actually, that actually sort of says, it certainly gives the sense that it's a town instrumentality.
Official, yeah.
Yeah, it's official.
Yeah, and so I'll ask Alan if he'd be willing to, because he knows where he put the signs, and he can find them most easily, and I'll ask him if he's willing to put a decal under each one.
Yeah, I do want to bet.
those are secured with, just like a roofing nail or something?
I think so, yeah.
Well, it's not a,
We have those too to go
Okay.
with them, so if
Or is it
anybody,
heat
anybody
gun?
wants to actually do that,
What's that?
we've got the nails too.
Okay. Well, what I can do is see if Alan could just stop, I mean, you have those at your house, right?
No, they're in there.
Okay, so the decals and the nails? Okay, so maybe he could arrange to meet with you at some point to get them?
Or I can even leave them with Pete.
I could probably
Okay.
donate some nails.
Okay.
They might be this long and made out of carbide, but.
I haven't heard anybody mention a hammer yet.
The town hammer,
Well, he
you could borrow the
Oh, he
town hammer.
does?
Yeah, because he put that's
Rails.
the first thing
Is
he
that
did was he
is that an
posted
official
those all over
position?
Lindsey
What's
Flanders.
The town hammer?
Okay, so Judy is reminding me that Alan did post these around Lindsey Flanders, so it's possible that he put the signs at the same spot, but I will check with him. So if not, we can ask if he would do that.
Haley, is there an issue with nailing something into a tree?
No issue unless you're doing it incessantly, and you just wanna leave enough space for the tree to grow.
I'd recommend using aluminum nails, just because they don't,
Yeah, you don't wanna
they
use
won't ruin a
galvanized.
chainsaw or.
Yeah. Well, and galvanized will have an negative impact on the tree, but minimal.
but
Yeah.
the aluminum ones are easy to cut through with a chainsaw. They don't rust.
So you do or don't want to use aluminum?
I use the aluminum ones, roofing nails, because they're short, they got a big head to keep that from pulling off, they won't rust, and they don't ruin a cutting blade
Yeah,
or hurt somebody.
figured out.
They're lighter to carry in your backpack, too.
The other Lindsey Flanders item that we've talked about, but I don't know that we ever came to resolution on, was that so in the past, we've had folks repair the breaches in the stone walls by, putting logs across or putting stones there, and they always get removed. And so we did talk about, after we have the signs up and we have the cameras out, do we also want to go in and once again, put something in front of the breaches? The conversation has been, well, they just get removed, so is it worth our time? But I guess now that we have more people to weigh in, what do folks think about going out and putting some physical barriers out there?
I think it really is about consistency, so if we commit to, perambulating the park boundaries or the areas that are problems, at least, once a month, we can set up maybe a few of us that handle each park. I don't know most of these properties really, but I'm happy to go hike around with a bag of nails and some tags and roll some rocks back into place. And, if it's kids and you keep rolling them back in place, eventually they either grow up or get bored and, go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, Lindsey Flanders is kind of the one property that's problematic at the moment. I mean, we do walk the boundaries of all of the properties, and for the most part, we haven't, haven't had too much of an issue. But this is the one very problematic property because it's right downtown and it's next to the ball
One by
the
the
ball
playground,
fields.
right?
Yeah, and so
It's
it's
kind of a mess, yeah.
And the
Yeah.
issues were, what, target range and ATV use?
and shooting. Yeah, so shooting, ATVs, fires, trash, tires. Dumping, just a whole host of issues.
And do they need to remove the logs you put in the barway to do all that?
I think they have. Yeah.
How big have the logs been?
I don't know the details. That was something that Alan Perkins had done with another Conservation Commission member maybe 5 years ago or more
How
now.
We
accessible,
walked it,
how
Eric,
accessible is it?
Alan and I walked it, I think, time is weird, maybe a year and a half ago. And there were a couple places where there was a stone wall and they'd moved enough so they could get a vehicle through. And, we could put it back. It's really what Josh said, do you want to keep doing it and doing it? I can understand why we would, particularly if we can get a video up there, so the next time we can find out who's doing it,
Well,
Put it
but-
back and get it to where we think it's reasonable, and then watch the thing and see if we can.
How accessible is this location?
It was,
They're driving to it, apparently.
Because if you can drive into it, get a tractor with a honking big log.
Or rock, or whatever.
If small rocks we can move,
Mhm.
big log, not so much.
Or a big rock.
Yeah,
We got
Yeah.
plenty of those in town, we grow them.
well, yeah.
So I'd love to see this. So it's the one right down here by the playground. I
Mhm.
haven't been down there since my kids were going to the playground,
Mhm.
because it's not a very nice conservation area.
Well, if people are interested, Alan has kind of been our kind of go-to. Alan Perkins has kind of been the person that we've worked with on that because he has been volunteering to help. So, when I reach out to him about the decals, I can say there are some folks interested in going out and having a look, and I'm sure he would be happy to arrange it, so.
I can probably, if it's accessible, I can trailer over a tractor that can carry 1,000-pound stone and, a couple of those located. No? You think that'll work?
yeah, I would think so.
Well, I will put all of you on the chain and we can have a conversation with Alan
Chain
about it.
gang.
Yep,
Yeah.
we can also use chain to.
We will
make
use
barriers,
chain,
too.
yeah, absolutely, yeah.
Yes. You're eating yourself.
I've been working on that.
Wait, are they just going in there to hang out? Is it is it
They
some
were
kind of commercial
shooting-
dumping thing, or just a?
There was stuff dumped there, there was evidence that they'd been using it for target range. That
And
was the part
fires.
that was really scary
It was like
because
towards a trail.
it was, yeah, exactly,
Yeah, it's a really downtown, it's not really very
uh-huh.
remote, yeah.
Yeah.
which is why they were there.
And we had Alan, and I don't know if Yep, go ahead.
I was just gonna suggest that, Fish and Game conservation officers will put their cameras up, and they will sit there and wait for violators to come along if we ask them to do that. I mean, that's something they do.
Yeah, we've reached out to them. They are so busy
So
that we've just
overburdened.
not had a lot of luck.
We also had, I forget his name, but one of the officers from our police force has been involved.
Millette? Or was it
Sorry.
He's going to ask them to
Newell.
borrow, he's on the list for borrowing.
Borrowing,
their
right, a cam, but then I think,
They're backlogged on them.
yeah.
Yeah, so
So
Alan
Brian,
and,
that's when Brian said, first he said he had them and we could borrow one, and then he found they'd been stolen. So that's how we got to here.
yeah, so we have involved the police department and, again, Fish and Game has just been so busy that it's been hard
I
to,
think they get more interested when they learn that people are shooting,
Hmm.
and it's a danger to everyone.
yeah.
Wouldn't hurt to bring it up with them again.
Alan was supposed to.
Well, we should go out there and probably take a look and see if it's still ongoing, or if it maybe has
Yeah, and I think it's
tapered off.
good to bring the new
Like to
folks on
see
the commission up to speed on it, because it's just a perennial issue. I mean, it's it comes up every year or so, so.
Question is, who's gonna be prepared to give up a 1,000-pound stone?
Yeah, that's why I was wondering where you're gonna scout for
Or
that.
they just go to another.
Just dig a
spot.
ditch right next to the trail and you probably find a couple.
Yeah, well,
Well, I have a big pile if you,
Is
You don't have one?
a 1,000-pound stone?
Well, how big, what would be the dimensions of that?
It wouldn't be small.
Not that big, really. I
I'm
mean,
sure I
3
have
feet,
one somewhere.
3 feet.
I
wide.
have quite a few that are right next to my driveway that are quite
They
accessible.
gotta be ugly and ornery.
Yep,
3
Okay,
feet, 3 feet in
just
diameter,
saying.
3 feet across is probably 1,000 pounds.
Yeah.
It's about what I can pick up with my tractor.
But this way, you put a rock and a hard place in the same place.
I'll also say that, just in general, like conservation areas that are more used get less
That is absolutely true.
negative use.
Yeah.
So I think I
Mhm.
just put it on my list, like maybe I'll share about Lindsey Flanders specifically on Facebook maybe, and let people know that it's available to use, and
Mm.
The trail map would be good, because when my
yeah.
kids were little, we'd get down there, like, I think we're coming out in somebody's backyard, I'm
Yeah.
not sure where the end of this trail is,
we have a PDF trail map, but I think it's time we start to migrate to digital. So
And maybe
I'm not
eventually,
volunteering, but I do know how we could do that very easily and make a very user-friendly digital trail map.
trail forks.
I would think about, well, yeah, I'll put on my professional cap in a while, but, yeah, there's this site called Trail Finder, which is like what UNH Cooperative Extension is promoting, because it's all trail maps that are posted with permission by the landowner. So unlike like Strava or some of these like all trails where anyone can just go out and post a trail map, they're all, these
Sanctions.
are all sanctioned. You can really clearly list the prohibited and permitted uses, have a blurb about the Deerfield Conservation Commission. So I think we could easily, it would take nothing to get a map up there. So maybe Lindsey
Kiosks too,
Flanders would be a
when we
good.
have a kiosk design
Yeah.
that we like, we could put one of those down there at the entrance to the, from the playground area, so that people actually know what it
Yeah,
is.
because it is an accessible property. It's not our most like scenic or, it's not our most scenic, but it's accessible. So some people could use it while their kid's playing baseball or, so.
Oh, mountain bike loop down there,
Yeah.
Well, and that would be, that could be a project for a student at UNH, because I always have students looking for capstone projects. So this sort of, kind of getting maps.
Yeah, and I'd be happy to work with a student and usher them through that process for whatever properties we decide to post. But yeah, it's just getting out there, putting, feet to the ground, getting the maps, and then the upload and information collection is relatively simple.
And then Rue is in the process of doing the kiosk thing for all the
Right.
town forests, so that goes along with your thing with the kiosk.
Yeah, so people know who's, and where to report if they find damage, who to call,
Mm.
so that we don't have to be the only ones out there looking. There'll be, everybody that uses it will be watching out for it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, so at least for the starting point, we'll get Alan to put out the decals if he hasn't already, and we'll schedule a visit to get as many folks as want to go out there to see it. I actually haven't ever been myself, so I should go as well. We should all as many of us that can go see it and have a talk in the field about it.
Could I just make a request? Could you do that? I'd like to go. Could you do it starting the week of the 26th and not before that, because I'll be out of town for a long time?
Yeah, I don't imagine this happening
After
immediately,
Dixie.
but you're saying after the 26th?
Yeah.
If you're gonna do it as a member thing, then I should post it as a meeting then.
Even if we're just doing a site visit?
Yeah, we used to have to
We
do that
have
for
a quorum.
ZBA, say that we're having a site visit, but since it's, at least you don't have to worry about getting landowner permission for other people to access the land, because it's, so.
Yeah.
If we have a quorum, right, Judy? We
Right.
have to, yeah.
Yeah, usually when you guys have gone out to do site visits, it's been a couple of
It's
you,
two
it's
of us,
not been a quorum.
We'll wait and see how many of us.
Yeah, let's, once we have a date
Just plan
and
it
we'll
after
see how
tick
many,
season.
and we see how many
Yeah.
people are going,
Yeah.
I'll let you know.
Yeah, let me know.
Question for the clerk, what is a quorum?
A quorum for a 7-member board would be 4.
Okay, so it's a majority of,
A majority
membership.
of the actual members
on, who have been elected,
sworn, yeah.
Yeah, but
elected and sworn.
Well, yeah, elected or sworn,
They
in
have
our
a-
case sworn.
Actually, I have a point of order that I'd like to clarify, maybe we can't, but I know for like zoning board of appeals, it's a 5-member board, but it takes, the way voting works to approve anything, it takes the votes of 4 members. No matter how many show up.
Your RSAs are a lot more stringent
Yeah.
than ours.
So how's it work for us? Just a majority of who shows up?
Majority,
Not who shows up,
Of just the board?
of the appointed members of the board. So even if we're a 7-member board, so even if we need 4 for majority,
Just to get anything?
For
just to get anything. So even if only 4 people come, we still need 4, so.
Yep.
But if 3 showed up, then we wouldn't have sufficient.
We wouldn't have a quorum then.
Couldn't
Yep.
approve it, yep.
But interestingly enough, historically, I would say well over 90% of the votes I've seen in the time I've been here have been unanimous, yeah.
Yep.
Yeah,
Well,
it's,
you're not gonna make any decisions just doing a site visit anyway, it's just a.
no, I'm,
No, it's a
I
site
was
visit.
just talking in general.
Oh, I see, okay.
You know, that
But I don't have
most
any-
of the time, we're all, it's pretty cool, actually. We're all of a similar mind.
I think if the public wants to come and attend the walk, that's even better,
Right,
That's true.
yeah.
you know? So you
By
say that
posting, we let people
your
know.
Conservation Commission will be walking this forest at 9 o'clock on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. You're welcome, all the town's members and interested folks are welcome to join, you know?
Yeah, and that's something we could put on the Facebook
Well,
page.
That would be really good, especially at Lindsey Flanders and, you know.
If you are coming, bring food and snacks for the board.
There you go, I like your style.
Bring a hammer.
Yeah.
Okay,
That'll keep attendance low if you say, bring a shovel and a rake. Nobody shows up for that.
Really served.
yes, you can say, we're gonna be fixing stone walls and closing breaches. No.
1,000 pounds.
The next item is the Gettys Easement, and I don't have an update on that. Does anyone have anything on that?
Gettys? I don't know.
Is it Gettys?
I don't know.
No one has,
Oh.
no
Adams
one's
Hill.
reported
Oh,
back
this
on the
way.
excavation.
I haven't heard anything on that, no.
Well, you know, could someone just touch base with Andy Robertson, see maybe he got something back from them?
Yeah, I guess he is the one that alerted us to the issue.
That, and Eric Berglund might have information.
What's that, this is up on
Nottingham,
Melinda's
Adams Hill.
property?
Yeah, someone, I guess Andy Robertson sent me the original email back in April, just notifying us that there was what appeared to be significant excavation, and was anyone aware of what was going on? And
This was the new owner of her property?
Mm-mm. No, she's still, as far as the deeds were concerned, I looked online, she's still the deed owner.
Is she, because
still
she's
with-
moved to Fremont,
Did she?
yeah.
Well, then they haven't updated the deed.
I
Maybe
mean,
they have tenants.
she sold the property,
Oh.
I don't know, 8 months ago, 9 months ago, and there was a new owner over there.
Wouldn't be the first time that they haven't updated the deeds.
Not until you pay your $400, you know?
yeah, so Eric Berglund was gonna look into that, so I will follow up with Eric, because now that he's not here, he can't tell us in person, so I'll ask him. but I don't have an update for tonight.
I can also sort of figure out a little bit of what's going on
Yeah, that'd be great.
through other means.
Does that back up to Pawtuckaway?
I believe it may, yes.
The third item under stewardship and easement monitoring is the Merrell Easement, or the K. Williams easement. So that was owned by K. Williams in the past. It's now owned by the Merrills. This is on 107. It's the Christmas tree farm on 107 on the right as you go from here towards Route 4. The easement is in the back, and since we hold the easement, we should be monitoring it. It looks like the last time we did that was in 2019. So at some point, we should get out there, probably this fall, and do an easement monitoring. And in the past, we've done that in collaboration with Frank Mitchell. So I can actually check in with Frank, and if any of you are interested in walking around with Frank to check out that property, that would be great.
Sure. It's not one I know either.
Yeah, there's 10 acres in the front that is now a Christmas tree farm, and then there's the easement in the back, and I believe some of the easement property has been put under Christmas trees as well,
80 acres of that.
something like that, yeah.
Are the terms for the different easements readily available, like electronically, or how do we look and see what the terms of an easement are?
Be recorded at the
Gotta
Register
go
of
to
Deeds.
online?
I mean,
Can I get it online
Judy,
at the registry?
I think
Register?
Judy has
I
most of
have-
that electronically.
Yeah, I've got quite a bit of it electronically, but not entirely. I'm still working through the.
Yeah, that's one of the older easements in town, and it's pretty vague in its language, and so there was quite some discussion when the land changed hands and the Merrills bought the property and wanted to put it into a Christmas tree plantation. There was some discussion about that, and how best practices for doing that, because there is some wetland there. So we did work with them to try and kind of, to the extent possible, minimize soil disturbance and wetland disturbance and things like that. Was your hand up, Joanne?
No, I'm just tired of sitting, sorry.
Okay, no, I just didn't, I thought I saw your hand go up, so I didn't know if you had a question.
Judy, are there easements available at the Register of Deeds as well, or not?
That's where I get them.
Okay.
Okay, so I go to their website. Do you go actually in person, or do you get them online?
No, I
No-
get
no-
them
no
online.
appointments right now.
Yeah,
It's
okay.
it's a joke, but
It's tough, I know, yeah.
there's instructions on there, but you have to have an old version of Java.
Yeah, been there, okay. I was just wondering if there was an improved, like, we had a
I'm
a
working
Dropbox or something of
on,
them.
and have been for a long time, but
Yeah.
don't take the time to actually continuously do this,
Yep.
is getting the easement language and a map digitally.
Yeah.
But I don't have it for all of the conservation properties that we have on our list.
Is it just on your hard drive, or is it up in the cloud on
No,
a?
it's on my hard drive.
Is there any way, I mean, I know the Clifford property it would appear to be one property, but it actually has 4 easements on it.
Mhm.
Is there anything that would link, when you go to the registrar site, that would say 104, or is it just, you gotta just be
No,
thorough?
you actually just have to search you have to either know who it was conveyed to, or who it was conveyed from, so you just start looking that way. But now, you can actually tell the system that you want it just for Deerfield, because before, it was
Used
for
to get-
the entirety of Rockingham County.
Right,
And you had to just kind of page after page after page and look for it alphabetically, what you thought how it might have been conveyed.
right, gotcha, okay, thank you.
So,
Judy, I don't even know when this was, a few years ago you put together a spreadsheet, which doesn't include the easements, but at least a spreadsheet of the different properties that are under
Yeah,
town
that's-
ownership, and
it's old one, yeah.
that included the multiple map and lot numbers. You know, with it-
And that's what I'm updating too,
Right.
is not all of them have map and lot numbers that, and I'm putting together with, I'm putting a map and lot number, the significant portion of the deed, and the, how it was conveyed, and the, what else? I forget what other component in there that I'm.
Hope
you
it's
including
hope it's
the,
backed up reliably.
Pardon?
Hope it's backed up reliably.
Are you including the terms of the easement, what can be done on each property?
Anything that I think is significant,
That'd be awesome to have.
Because you
Would be.
can't print that stuff out. It's a copy paste, and then you have to edit that. You have to crop
Nice.
it and all that stuff. So that's
Wow.
why I have not done
Yeah.
a lot.
Understandably, but
It'd be awesome to have on a website someplace so that it's out there for everybody.
We're just up in the cloud for
My goal
us.
was to have the folder for each one of them with the map, with the significant portion of the deed, and any other information that I had.
Maybe-
And like Clifford, it's like, oh, that's like 4 properties, or the Fowler, to find out that those were, you know,
Can you email those documents?
it's one big, huge doc that I just keep adding to the deeds. No, it's not
No, the
really-
individual, when you go to the Registrar of Deeds, can you email those, or just, it's all
They're like
scraping?
banners. Yeah.
It's unofficial copies, and you just, like I said, you do a print screen. You can't even copy it, it's a print screen.
Oh, dear.
Copy, paste on your Word doc, and then crop the thing,
If-
so.
I guess I bring up the spreadsheet duties because it might be helpful for folks to see, and you know, I think specifically the land that, because there's town-owned land that we're not responsible for.
I can send the old one.
Yeah.
That does not have complete information on it. And that was Kate's
Yeah.
doing,
Yeah.
and I just started adding on to it.
Yeah.
It sounds like something that that what you've got could very easily maybe go into like Google Drive or Dropbox or something like that, just for you to circulate to the board or, you know, people of interest.
Don't involve me in technology at this point, no.
I
No,
could
but
help.
I guess
could
if
help.
people are interested, I could certainly start a Google Doc or a Google folder and drop stuff in there so that everyone can access it. We've never discussed that, and it's a great idea.
It might be good for,
Um,
like, you know, it would save a lot of emailing and.
Just, I mean, so do people have a preference on Dropbox versus Google Drive?
Nope, it's all the same.
I've never used
I don't find
Dropbox.
Google Drive very user-friendly, but that could just, which is shocking for a Google product, but like, I don't know, I just feel like it's always very disorganized, and maybe that's just the people
Their
I've
file
used it
structure,
with.
they don't
Yeah.
have good file structure.
It's terrible.
Dropbox is better for file, for
Dropbox is
traditional
more
file
intuitive,
structure.
yeah.
Then Dropbox is the one for you.
I mean, I use Dropbox, but then I've had colleagues who, when I've set it up, said, oh, I can't use that, please use Google Drive, so.
I'd rather use Dropbox myself because it has a traditional file structure. You drill down, you back up. Google Drive, that's always like organized by,
Yeah, it's just dumped in there, it feels like, but anyways.
Does anyone not want me to, I will use Dropbox is what I use, so I would do that if that works for other people, but.
I'm officially anti-Google, so yes.
Oh, there you go.
don't be evil.
I'm,
Yeah, right.
my
They
computer
dropped that 7 years ago.
seems to have overloaded with Dropbox. I have not been able to figure out how to get rid of anything. I haven't paid for it, so it's pretty small. But if someone could tell me how to unfreeze it, I'd be glad.
Well, I think if I set up Dropbox through my account, which is through work and is, you know, unlimited, then you just have to click on the link.
I could probably figure that one out.
We'll help you if you can.
I've got a couple of kids who maybe could help me if I can't.
We had a
No,
remedial,
Just kidding.
for ZBA, we had a remedial computer class that we like actually gave to people so that they could use Zoom and, you know, like, and of course, our minutes are still typed on a
Yeah.
non-electric
On an
typewriter.
electric typewriter.
A
yeah.
non-electric typewriter,
Excuse me.
Wow.
Yeah.
an acoustic typewriter after being recorded on a mini cassette.
Yeah, there you go. Best of the 60s, 70s, 80s, and 90s.
You know, Kate always said we have to have 3 laughs a meeting, so there's at least one. Maybe we should reinstitute that policy. Anyway, I will set that up, because I think that's a
Thank you.
great idea, and then, yeah,
Someone will
I can
need
work
to
with you
meet with
to,
me to figure out, to see what I have.
that we can
But I
put there.
can't I don't have the time to reinvent the wheel with it.
You shouldn't.
Yeah, no, you don't need to, it's just a matter
It's
of,
not just one file.
yeah, but you
The,
could,
the deeds are one big, huge thing.
but it's just a matter of moving them to this place and from one folder, from your computer to this
And I don't lose them.
location.
No.
You don't lose them, nope, they're
Copy
still
them.
there.
Yep.
And then it's backed up and you don't have to worry about
And-
if your computer crashes
Oh,
or,
it's, all the DCC and all the school stuff is routinely backed up on a bazillion trilobytes.
but this way you don't have to actually do it.
Trilobytes, that's a new
Terabytes.
unit.
Bazillion trilobites.
Trilobytes, those are
Trilobyte.
terabytes or trilobytes are different.
Trilobites. Yeah. They live on the third moon off of.
It is.
off of Mars.
Yeah, my trilobyte drive.
Trilobite drive, I like it.
Is that Phobos?
Phobos is a good thing, yeah.
Okay, so we'll get that set up. I think that's a great idea. So with that, we're gonna actually go to our regular minutes and hopefully just quickly approve our May and, actually, we need to approve April and May, it looks like, is that right? April and May
You know,
minutes?
just May. Just May.
Oh, it says you emailed, I see.
I emailed
Yeah, I
out.
see it. Okay, I misread that. So I'm gonna make a motion that we approve the May minutes.
Second.
So Haley seconded. Is there any discussion?
Yes.
Can
I have a
those of us who weren't involved with that vote on that? I don't think we can.
Oh, that's true.
We could, but I'm not gonna.
No, I don't know if you've got enough people here to do that, or how does that
You were
work?
at the meeting. Were you at the meeting?
But
Yeah,
you
we
weren't.
weren't
a member.
I
officially
wasn't a
members.
member.
Abstentions don't
Well-
affect the vote.
So it would be, the three of us were the only members who
Brian.
were on the commission at that time, right?
Brian, but
And Brian,
Yeah,
so
but
3 out of
Brian,
4.
Yeah.
We could do that, right?
Yeah.
You have to, because that's, the board was, so it was a smaller board
Yeah,
then.
we don't.
So
Yeah,
that's-
there's no other
I have
options.
an
I vote
Or we
to
could
accept.
we could all vote against it.
Okay, so before we vote,
That's a really interesting question.
Judy has a correction.
What happened if you won't?
Yeah, I've got a
do it?
correction on,
It didn't
on
Voted
the,
down the minutes.
You gotta
Said,
edit
"No,
them."
I won't."
the Eversource conditional use
No,
permit
started taking my
application on the
shoes off.
second paragraph.
You want to use this, Judy?
Oh,
Exactly.
all right, on the second paragraph of the minutes, Eversource conditional use permit application, second paragraph, structure is located 0.7 miles southwesterly from Thurston Pond Road, parentheses, private/discontinued. I'm striking private/discontinued. The information I had was not complete, and I just want it struck at this point.
Okay, that works for me.
Yeah.
Any other corrections or discussion? Okay, so all in favor of the motion, I guess just but Wes, Haley, and myself are voting, is that right? So I think that's unanimous, unless Haley's.
And then just everybody else abstains, so, the majority of those voting who weren't abstaining, those votes will count. I mean, if 2 out of the 3 of you that were voting objected, then it wouldn't,
Way complicated.
Yeah.
yes.
Okay, and then, so we'll move now to the finance report, and Haley sent around the Conservation Fund report, I think, earlier today by email, but I don't know, do you want to give a short overview?
Yeah, no, nothing major to report. We had some interest in May, some in June, ranging from, 34 to $36 per month. And then just of note, I would say is that this month, got a report from Kelly that we had no land use change tax this quarter, so.
The well
It doesn't
has
always
dried
happen.
up.
Yeah, well, that or construction supplies are through the roof and no one wants to build anything, so.
Interesting.
Oh,
So I don't know, but yeah, it doesn't always happen, so just something to note. So we'll pay attention for next quarter. And we're just ending with a balance for Judy's sake of $276,767.10.
Any questions for Haley? Thanks. That's it for regular business. I don't know if, are there any updates on the Facebook page or other public outreach efforts? Actually, I haven't checked the page recently to see if there's any traffic there, but,
I mean, we've been posting a ton, any of us, but people continue to like it, you know, we continue to get new people following, so. We haven't, I
Yeah,
don't,
pretty regularly.
yeah, like, every
Every
a
day
couple
or so
people
there's-
every day or so.
and we have several
Like it.
hundred followers now, right? So, I mean,
Yeah, that's what I was.
people are seeing
Hmm.
it, so that's good. Okay, and then, under regulated wetlands and shorelands, I do not have an update on the 145 South Road. I don't know if really we need to keep this on our list. I mean, I think, discussed last time that DES acknowledged the applicant's compliance in response to our concerns. And there was approval of an after-the-fact standard dredge and fill, so I don't really know that there's anything else for us to do on this.
Did we comment on that dredge and fill, saying that it wasn't to our liking? And I'm just wondering if we should keep it on a little bit longer, just because they're likely, I shouldn't say they're likely, there's some chance they might respond to our
They did.
last comments.
They did.
And what did they say?
They approved it. The builder, they were told that the builder, or not the builder, the owners, the landowner was told to have their environmental person respond to all the questions in Haley's letter that she composed.
Have we
And
gotten
they
those
did.
responses?
Yeah.
Oh, okay, I'm
And
sorry.
And DES
Okay.
approved it, so I mean, I
Okay.
just don't think there's
I
anything.
apologize, I understand now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's fine,
I mean, is the
so,
equipment gone from the site and it looks like it's all finished up and done?
Oh, yeah, it's been like that since we wrote our first letter, yeah.
So-
Yeah.
so not, you
DES
know,
acknowledged the applicant's compliance in response to DCC stated concerns, approval of after-the-fact standard dredge and fill wetlands permit application. So that's,
I'd be curious, particularly after all this rain, if the neighbors there in the chalet got flooded out this time. I
yeah, it'd be
mean, that
interesting.
was the original thing that
Is that what tripped off the complaint?
tripped off the complaint, right?
Did, I don't recall if I sent out a copy of the wetland scientists' responses, did I?
You did,
I
yeah.
did,
yeah,
okay.
we saw that.
Yeah, and it was basically just,
They went point by point.
they went point by point, like we said, it appears there, you know, from reports and observation of the, you know, surrounding topography, that there have been changes to the hydrological regime, and they just said, no, there haven't been. And we said, you know, it appears that there was movement of, you know, considerable movement of soil, and excavation on site, and they said there wasn't. So what can you
And then
know.
DES approved it, so I mean, I
Yeah,
feel
yeah,
like,
okay. No, I'm not arguing, I'm just
No,
curious. if
that was just to give you the gist of
Sure,
what the
sure.
response was, you know, and so there's not much, and then, you know, our thought, and at least, you know, if that was the case, again, I've not been on the site, but all factors
Maybe
would
this
point to
week,
otherwise,
yeah.
but their mitigation was to basically let the site naturally revegetate on a site that they cleared of, you know, like young
Yeah, yeah,
forest
yeah.
vegetation.
And planted to
seeded
grass.
with a conservation mix. So that was my issue, but they said, no, it's fine, it's gonna be fine, so.
and so I guess my point was, is it's not the outcome that we would like to see, but I don't know that we have any,
Do anything about it.
I mean,
If we had a drone and we had good footage beforehand, so we
Yeah.
would've.
Well, no, I think, from a practical point of view, and if nobody has a problem with it, in the next few days, I'll stop by that house, and I'll just go and say, you know, I understand it's closed up by DES. Did it actually solve the problem? We flooded out in this last few storms.
well, you had already been in contact with them, right?
I went
And
to
yeah,
visit
so
them.
I think it would be fine for you to follow up with them if you are willing to do that.
Yeah, I'd like to, because my concern is they, exactly what you said, you know, they kind of whitewashed it and didn't do anything, and if those people are still getting flooded out, I don't think we should let go of it. I don't know that there's practically a lot we can do, but I think we should at least make the statement to DES if this is so, that what they approved didn't solve the problem. That's all. And I don't know, I'm jumping the gun on this, because it may be that it did solve the problem and they didn't have it. That's why I'll shut up, but that's why I wanted to go and check it out. Yeah.
Do you have a camera?
Do I have a camera? I have several of them.
Well, I'd suggest taking photographs of something that isn't working so that we can send the photographs to the DES.
Like
Well,
your-
he
like
did
your
a whole
videos.
video of
Yeah.
it. He,
Yeah,
and that
I
was,
know.
and
But
he,
it sounds like the DES
Yeah.
response was.
Less than we wanted.
the DES.
minimal,
Oh.
Yeah, I
attended,
think-
What'd you expect?
Yeah.
uniform, all of those things.
And they're
So
funded like the
Pictures
rest
are
of
usually pretty
They're
good. I'm
educated and
surprised the
funded.
video didn't. But if they think it's been solved and you send a picture that shows, or a video that shows that it hasn't been solved, it's hard to
Exactly.
ignore it.
I don't know, my
I think
kids
that's
used to
great.
play on that, you know, the people that, I knew the Alexanders, so I've been over there when it was theirs, and then I knew the people that lived there last, and before the stadium went up. My kids used to play out there, so I could send them up there, they could tell you right away if the topography has changed.
Yeah, I mean, it's just our word, as an
Yeah.
advisory board, not being
Yep.
able to visit the property against, certified wetland scientists who have been out and investigated the site.
And it's getting
And
paid.
DES was
Yeah.
out there
Yeah.
too.
And
yeah.
yes. So, I don't know, yeah, I'm not sure there's much more we can do, Wes, and I would say for the landowner, I think like we've done everything we can, and their next course of action would be some sort of like
Legal.
legal
So they have to
action.
go to
Yeah,
court.
yeah, yeah.
But let them know, there is a record of our
Mhm.
communications to, and they have, it's public access, so.
and it would be,
Well, I'll
yeah, it would
just
be
see.
good for them
It
to
may
know that
be-
we,
We
Yeah, they
may
should-
be,
you should-
wasting time with this, that may be solved, it may not be an issue at all.
They may
I
not
just-
also know that they have a recourse still.
Okay, well, that's exactly why, I just want to go, I'll talk to them, or try to talk to them and see if anything comes up, and if
Superior
it does,
Court's there next.
I'll let you know.
well, and I think it would be good, as Haley said, for them to see what we have done so that they know we didn't sit on it. I mean, that we
Yeah.
did try to do something, we just weren't very successful at it, so.
Is
Well,
the,
maybe we were, if they didn't flood and
That's
it's all
true.
good, then maybe it was just, maybe they went out and they reculverted and they moved a little bit of dirt after they got the complaint and they undid a little bit of what they did, and that's something.
Yeah.
is the building inspector part of this process? Because he presumably issued them the permit to do what they did.
But they didn't have a permit to do,
So, so if he's copied on this process and the result, whatever that result is, then he'll keep his eye open, no?
He's the enforcement officer as well.
Yeah, he's an enforcement officer, yeah, so,
He's not a guy who knows a lot about that sort of stuff, soil science and things though, so. he's
I
not
think
gonna have an
whatever
eye for
permit
it, you
they
know.
got for that riding arena is separate from the site work that they did.
which was behind,
Behind,
So
behind.
it's
well,
just
no,
a-
but I'm talking about the flooded basement issue, so that, as a consequence of the whole DES process, you have a flooded basement that either is or isn't resolved. If it's not resolved, then you'd think that the enforcement officer would want to know about that.
Well, let's not jump the gun, I'll see if there's still an issue, and I'll report back. That's,
Sounds good, and if you can get some photos,
if there's anything to take a photo of, I mean, they were fine with my taking photos from their side of the land the first time. If there's still an issue, I'll have them show me and I'll take photos. I'm happy to do that, sure.
that's good, and if they would like, I mean, I feel like we sent them the letter that we submitted to
The
DES,
first one,
but.
the
I
first
think, yeah.
communication. at
But if
least,
they
yeah.
would like to see the responses or whatever, I mean, as Haley said, it's public
Record.
it's public record, so we can send that to them.
Okay, excellent.
The next one, Judy, is just, I assume, just an FYI that there's been a standard
Yeah,
dredge and
it's
fill
just a-
application.
It's an application, and the bottom line is that the Lamprey, because it involved the Lamprey River Advisory Committee was involved in that, and they had no objections. I mean, it's the state, they're gonna be closing the road to repair to the Freeze Pond Bridge.
Yeah, and this is not
And
anything that
on
we
your-
that we sign or
Yeah,
anything,
no,
so.
it's just, all the basic details are on your meeting plan. So if you're curious, that's just kind of this watered down.
And then in terms of the Deerfield Fair Association, I have not received any update on that. I assume you haven't either, Judy?
No, I
Okay.
did email her and ask her when it was, and she said she'd let us know when she knew.
Okay.
So.
And I realize I guess for those of you that are just coming onto the board, some of these things are, longstanding and things that you don't yet, know what we're talking about. And we can, for example, I would have to refresh my own memory as to exactly what happened at the fairgrounds and why that's an issue. But we can certainly, if you want, at any point, if you're not clear, just say, hey, I don't know what's going on. Let me, what are you talking about? So there was a complaint at the fairgrounds about a potential wetland violation. And we, in terms of the specific bullet item, and we alerted DES, who was going to do a site visit, but we've had no update, from them
They've
since
got a
then.
tentative meeting with Keyland, I think is the name of the excavation, the guy who's doing the project. And they both seemed very amenable to getting together and taking a look at where they were actually excavating. But nothing seems to have happened. They were waiting for the spring thaw to dry up.
I think it's maybe mud season again.
Exactly.
I think so.
So, and then the only other item, I think, at least that's on our agenda, is that I got an email from Karen Levitt with the Heritage Commission, who she was wondering if we wanted to have a display at Old Home Days, some sort of informational display table. And so I guess that's a question I throw out to you all, and if we do, what do we want to do, and who wants to coordinate that? I'm not even sure when Old Home Days are. She was going to get back to me with the date because it was apparently still to be determined, so.
It's a great idea, but I don't have time to do it.
So what the Heritage Commission is doing is actually putting together a sort of a whole display, sort of centered on Kelly Roberts. She's gonna put together a sort of a explanation of how your town works. And in that context, Kelly's gonna do a
That
lot
could
of
take a
that.
while.
Well, it will be dumbed down, I'm pretty sure. Kelly will
Really,
make it.
Kelly just does it, like. it
Kelly,
just-
Kelly will make it in doable, bite-sized pieces, I'm sure. But it just, I think the idea is to reach out to all the commissions and see if they want to have a single, pickup leaflet or something like that.
I see, so it's not like we are responsible. I got the impression that we would each have our table and it would be like this kind of full display, but you're suggesting
Well,
it's.
if there's a map of the town.
Conservation properties,
Conservation properties,
a list of the trails, trail maps, maybe.
yeah, something like that,
Be cool.
that, shows the people at Old Home Day, what the Conservation Commission's about, and what, it's also a sort of an actionable thing. I think one of the things that you were talking about Zoom earlier, there might be, an opportunity to say, add your voice to the list of people who want Zoom participation in town meetings.
Talk to
Whether
your,
it's
talk
BOS.
to your state representative and your
Well,
your
I
senator.
didn't go that far.
Okay.
But, and also notifying them of the notification system on the town website, where you can have all the minutes and all the agendas sent to you automatically.
That would be great if it worked.
It does work.
The links never work for me.
I get them all the time. You go in, so you need one of these sheets that gives you the
I
link.
click on the link and it doesn't, I get a page not found.
Well, I've been doing it for the, It works.
Yours works, I
Yeah,
must,
yeah.
I need to use it in
We need
browser.
different
Well, I kept after Mr. Harrington and Mr. Robertson about 6 months ago to get them to make it work, and they said, well, no, who does that? And I said, give them 3 towns that it does work. They all have the same
I
software.
just was clicking on it during the meeting to see the draft minutes, because I get the email that says, hey, the select board draft minutes are out.
Yeah,
I click on the link and I get a link does not
so
work.
that's a Harrington issue, or actually a Jamili issue maybe.
Yeah.
But for the most part, it does work. It comes.
Planning
up.
board ones work.
Hmm?
The planning board ones usually work.
Planning board, the invitation to the cable commission.
Yeah,
I
that I got, that worked.
All those things. So it may be a glitch that some of them don't work, but most of them do work. So-
I got
ones I
2
want
for the
to-
Board of Selectmen's meetings, back to back. One worked, and then one didn't work, and then I clicked on the second one, and that one did work.
Yeah.
So it's like they found a glitch and resent it.
Well, actually, there
Page
was
not
one,
found.
yeah, there was, yeah, that's
Page
right.
not
There
found,
was
yeah.
one
Yeah.
which it didn't work, and then
And then the other
immediately
one did.
following one, it did work,
And
yeah.
immediately
But, I
following.
mean, this is a slow process, but getting more people to these
Yeah.
meetings, to listen, to, say what they're saying, whatever it is sort of the process that, we're
Isn't that how
starting
this
to.
is supposed to work, right?
We're starting to see, well, it's, democracy is a verb, right? So,
It's a
What?
curse.
what?
What did you say?
Democracy is a verb.
I said it was
Oh.
a curse, but
Maybe for the Conservation Commission, at a minimum, we could have just a fact sheet that has our, like, little mission statement, and it has shows the link to our, or it says we have a Facebook page and shows the link to the Facebook page.
one of those coasters
Oh, yeah.
posted up there. So
We could
these are
have-
properties are
yeah.
marked by this, and, enjoy them and respectfully. If you have questions, go to this website where we will someday have all that information posted.
I
Well, we do-
I have forgotten
There's
what we've got back there as far as the maps are concerned, but we put them up for our 50th anniversary, and I can't remember if it was the big humongous ones that I had up on the table, or if it was the smaller ones, but there may be something in there that could be, they'd be old, it wouldn't be up to
Right.
date.
Well, there's actually a not bad trail pamphlet. I mean, it's all like hand-drawn maps, but they're actually kind of cool.
Well, just printing off the ones off of the planning board,
Yeah,
those are good, aren't they?
Just
It shows the
having,
lot boundaries probably, but not the trails.
but this is like a trails pamphlet, but it's from 2000.
Yeah, it's trails.
But they're still, I mean, they're the same trails
Oh, okay, well, maybe
But-
it's,
but visuals are,
for the most part.
what do they say, worth 1,000 words?
Yeah,
Is this a pamphlet online that we have online?
yeah, it's on our website.
Okay.
But
it links to they're not on our website.
oh yeah, the trail inventory maps. Those are
Yeah,
better. Those are
and
digital.
those are actually
Yeah,
planning board, our link, or used to be, our link went to the planning board
yeah.
maps.
Yep. Yeah, so that's possible. We could have a couple of those or a few of those or something.
And I guess, Wes, I don't know how much room there is gonna be, but if you had some of your photos of some of the town forests that you wanted to, display, that might be an option.
I'm not sure I have anything printed right now, but what's upstairs, and my printer just crapped out. As a matter of fact, I'm supposed to have, we're having a pop-up gallery at the Blue Bowl this weekend, and I haven't been able to print anything new up. So-
But there are some in the building, right?
Yeah.
So they could be, maybe those could just be taken and displayed for the day or something like that.
That is one of them.
That's pretty cool, actually.
So anyway, give that some thought, and if you have other ideas,
At least 10.
Yes,
Old
let me
Home
know.
Day is, I think, in some point in August.
Trails are good.
There you go, Judy. There
I
you
was
go.
There you go.
at it.
There you go, look at that.
Well, that's
yeah,
nice.
so if there were room for that,
But it's not up to date. This is, what the heck's the date on this thing anyway? This is an old granite, 2003, April of 2003.
Does the town do we have a plotter in the office, a big plotter still, or how
I
did we
think
get
so,
that
yeah.
printed?
So, yeah.
This is all nailed in, I mean, it's all,
I own one, but I don't think it.
I can go B size, but I can't go that size, I can't go.
Oh, I can go big.
I used to be able to.
but I don't know what.
What kind of printer do you have?
Plotter.
I used to have an engineering plotter, but, now I just do B size.
Engineer.
Everything's B
plans.
size.
Um,
Shut down.
yeah, I don't think mine does color. But I could print something, but it's designing the map that's the time consuming.
High quality, but, small.
Um,
You know what, I'll try to find more information about like how much space they're
Yeah, and
talking
what
about
what they
and,
want. Are you still on the Heritage Commission? Dan?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, so arrows are in, but it sounds like Karen's doing the organization.
She has a lot of experience in putting display kinds of things together.
Yeah.
Maybe we could get one of our new young members to sit at that table and hand out stuff and be friendly to people.
sounds like a good idea.
Yeah, these two things, and then there's a history of the Great Brook corridor on there too, under glass.
Sounds like all kinds of good stuff to put out there.
Yeah,
It's not very official, but.
You know,
yeah, that's great.
it's
too.
stuff.
But yeah, I do think like a one pager or something too would just, or some
Something
size.
people could walk away with.
Yeah,
The illustrations are by Mr. Ferguson's sixth grade class.
Yeah, so actually maybe Wes, you could just forward me one of your photos. I mean, we could even just put that, one of your photos on the fact sheet, as a visual of one of our properties and,
Sure. If
give
we're
some
printing it, if
information.
someone else is printing it, you can use as much as you want, sure.
So, right,
Good
yeah,
size
so,
printing.
again, I'll check in with Karen to see how much space she's actually talking about.
One of the print heads is clogged, and
Yeah, and I guess the only other thing here at the bottom, it's just by way of announcement, is that I actually wasn't able to attend the BOS meeting on the 21st to give a quarterly update, but we did send it to them electronically, and they're usually pretty good about reading the updates that we sent, and so the Board of Selectmen did get a quarterly update. I just didn't attend the meeting to verbally talk through it, so. That's all I have. I don't know, does anyone else have announcements, correspondence, reminders, or anything else that they would like to bring up?
The only thing I'd want to talk about is whether, in the past, we've asked, the town has asked, or various boards have asked the select board to communicate to our state legislature our wishes as boards in a town about things like maybe the Zoom ordinance. So I wonder if we're interested in sending a letter to our select board or just in the minutes, encouraging them to contact our state representative and senators to urge them to find a way to make that electronic accessibility permanent as opposed to fleeting.
Is there currently, you said, Judy, there's currently legislation, but it doesn't seem like it would go through. Would it be worth it for us to?
I can't recall who said that they didn't think it would go through, if it was John or who I spoke with. I don't remember half the time.
Would it make sense for us to write a letter then encouraging them to adopt that legislation or to?
I don't know that we want to speak specifically to the wording of the legislation, because I don't know what it is, but I
yeah,
think if we say something more generally to our select
Yeah,
board, like
okay.
say, hey, we would like you, as a conservation commission, and I can do that for the zoning board of appeals too, because I know they'll feel the same way, we would like to retain the ability to meet over Zoom, or at least have have testimony over Zoom. Can you notify our state representatives to please make this work out for us, as opposed to
Yeah.
ignoring it and letting it die,
Same with the Heritage Commission, I'm sure we would support that kind of.
well,
Yeah.
and can't we, like as even if it doesn't pass in the state, can't we as Deerfield say that we want our public meetings to be accessible and all the boards agree to make them accessible?
Because
Yeah.
presumably the state legislation doesn't say you can't do it,
Right.
So the state legislation is supersedes us in some way. So if the
Oh,
state
yeah.
says that all meetings must be, like the old meeting was.
Right,
You have to post it, you have to meet in person,
Right.
you have to have an open place that's handicap accessible, blah, blah, blah.
right.
Then no. If they say it
But
can't
does
be
that mean that you
electronic.
can't also, does that mean that you can't allow people to also join by Zoom, or?
Yeah, I don't know.
Well, no,
Depends how
91A
they-
will, I don't know about Zoom, but 91A says that people have to have the ability to have access to it. You can have remote, so long as the meeting, everybody can, in synchronously, not asynchronously, communicate on any given subject that comes up. So, I think the 91A aspect is
Still there.
is on our side
Yeah.
in that argument. The question is, do you go beyond that to having one of the frustrations, I think we saw it with the planning board mostly, was there would be a computer set up over there that would show
Sylvia's face.
Sylvia's face, or just show this all, this table and whatever was being projected up there, and capturing this without being right up against the microphone was really, it comes through very, very poorly. So the technology at this table becomes an issue for doing Zoom, because it's frustrating there were numerous comments about.
Oh, there would have to be an investment in some technology, which was why I think, this came up at the Board of Selectmen meeting around the CARES Act funding, and
Right.
if some of that could be put towards an actual system that functions.
Well, and that's what I think, like, I'm fine meeting in person, I actually somewhat agree with that, although I do think there should be some flexibility for extenuating circumstances if someone can and needs to meet electronically, but.
We do, there is.
Right.
Yeah.
So I agree with that. It's like, we're here in person, that's great, people can come in or not, but I do think for the sake of accessibility, if the town of Deerfield could get on board with saying all boards should have access for participants, viewers, and testimony via Zoom, and we're gonna invest in a system that allows that to be possible, I think would be a great step.
Yeah, other than one Zoom license that we have to share between boards and schedule our meetings to not,
Yeah.
Right.
Although ironically, that was actually a unifying sort of mechanism, because all the boards then had to work with each other because they had because early on there were boards that cut each other off. So.
Tell me about it.
Yeah, so that actually had the benefit of actually making people think about how everything works together. Same comment I asked John Harrington today about the calendar on the town website. And, apparently it is impossible. Every commission would have to post all their own meetings on that. There's no mechanical way, even though you can get the minutes and the agenda, there's apparently no mechanical way to just make them appear. So there's no one place you can look on the website to see what's happening in the town. It just doesn't exist, which is remarkable in this day and age that we can do that.
There is, none of us are savvy enough to know what it is, it's
Well,
like-
but so that kind of, this is all in aid of participation, okay? And so, and interestingly, I think I've heard every one of these boards speak to how, oh gosh, we'd love to have more participation, but we just, we can't, we don't have the personnel to send out an email list or stuff along those lines. I've actually been told that. And so I think if we take them at their word that they actually want more participation, then maybe they should do something about it. And I think the CARES Act stuff is probably, although I asked Mr. Harrington for a list of the parameters for that. You know how big that is?
Probably long.
Hundreds of pages. Hundreds of pages. It's, you can get through it.
Yeah, so this may not even be something that's allowed, but
Yeah,
it would be worth, I think, looking into, so.
Well, I guess it would be a way to promote healthy participation without risk of being concerned about your health, right? And that, from that perspective, it might qualify, I don't know. But there's a lot of verbiage around what does and doesn't qualify for CARES Act use.
no, the whole Zoom thing made the ZBA meetings much more broadly attended, and it actually had people behaving a lot better than they do when they're in person. Like, you meet them.
Except for that poor person down at the Horsepower Farm.
Oh, my God. Well, in person, I'll bet, we had to have the police be present in some of our zoning board of
Is that
meetings
right?
in the past, and that may have been one of those situations.
Interesting. But yeah, so I think it's a great idea to do that. If we're gonna present it, various boards ought to do it independently, but also with an eye to what's actually possible.
Well, I have several other emails that I'm going to be sending out, and I'm happy if people are in favor of me as chair sending a note to the BOS, just
think that's a great.
you know,
idea.
putting our voice behind this as well.
So moved.
Yeah,
Okay.
encouraged, strongly encouraged, or whatever
Okay.
the
And I would
proper
specifically
language is.
refer to the CARES Act money, because they won't get it from a budget that never passes. So-
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the access, the town cable access thing, you know, was a step in the right direction. Had it worked better and been audible, everything, if anything was audible and you could actually see what was going on, it would have been great. I tried it when it first came out, you know, to attend a few meetings and realize this is useless. I'm gonna get in the car and drive down there, you know.
But, you know, I mean, there's a fair amount of CARES Act money. I mean, it's like, is it like $500,000?
Almost.
Close,
And
four
it's
hundred
almost
thousand.
$500,000. And the projects that the select board's come up with so far, I didn't hear $100,000.
Are we gonna get a Bearcat?
Bearcat?
Yeah, one of those, you know, tanks that you can knock doors in with.
The only
I
thing
know.
that they suggest that they had in their, you know, that they indicated they already had plans for, was to improve the ventilation on that side of the building.
Ventilation here, ventilation in the library, and I added the town hall to the list. Also, was it something at the town,
Well, there's the lead in the pipes here, has that been fixed? Or-
what?
No, I know what it is. I think I know what it is. What was it you were saying? You can't use the water from, the town hall because it's.
Well, no, so the town hall water is brackish because it's from the town shed, and it sort of has all that salt,
Hmm.
you know, around it, so you can't really use it for the tea that you do at the coffee house. But you can use it for the coffee, because it makes it better. 'Cause it's boiled, it's boiled.
Well, the water here, I know there were lead issues with the pipes in this building.
You know.
That's the problem.
The only thing that I heard come up at the Board of Selectmen meeting was the ventilation of this building, and they said that was gonna be about $50,000, so. So there's still significant money to, you know, to be used for other things, and, you know, there were a few items suggested, the Zoom capability being one of them,
Strongly encourage that.
so.
Well, we do record the meetings now, once again, so that is
I want, I mean, selfishly, like, I want to be able, I felt really well informed during COVID because I was able to go to the planning board meetings that were of interest and occasionally ask a question when they were able to figure it out, you know, and like, you know, if someone was, then you run into the whole issue of people being skilled in moderating Zoom, but if there was a system that made it possible for them to, you know, take participation, questions from the virtual audience, it just makes it more accessible. Those meetings would have, you know, regularly 20 people at them, which is not the case in person. You know, it's only ever the people who have to go for a public hearing or because they're in a butter, but this.
I don't even wanna be here.
Well, and
It allowed people, like, it allowed you to just listen to, you know, the part of the meeting you were interested in and learning
Sorry,
more.
we're bringing
and staying
blueberry
up to date.
scones next time, so that if you show up
Yeah, you
virtually, you
miss-
don't
you
get a
miss
scone.
Virtual scone.
yeah. No, but I mean, there's also, the reality is, a number of the people on a number of boards, you know, don't benefit from more
Right.
participation.
I know, that's why I think we have to write a
so-
letter and ask for it.
Well, no, I think more participation is better, because you get, what you find is when this room is full, things happen,
It's just a couple people I count on attending every meeting, you know,
yeah.
making us think about stuff. That's,
It's like
I
voting
don't
in
have
this
to do it,
town.
because they do it.
300 people who
You make the decisions.
Just
Make
show
all
up,
the decisions,
you
yeah.
get your way.
yeah.
Okay, anything else?
A couple of months ago, we got this from Kelly, and I never brought it up because wasn't urgent. I don't think she needs it back until November. And she's asking just for the boards and committees to give information, specific points of information about themselves.
Yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
the
so
list.
maybe I'll bring this up at our next meeting. This is just a board and committee questionnaire. For example, how many regular members and alternate members? Are there any positions open?
Doesn't Kelly know that?
How often do you meet? Where do you meet? When do you
Feedback.
meet? What's your mission statement, et cetera? And Judy's already gone through and answered a bunch of these, but,
Busy collecting millions of dollars.
yeah, maybe I'll take a picture of this and can look over it, and then
Do you want me to send you a copy?
do you have it electronically?
Yeah.
Okay, then, yeah, if you want to send that around, we can be thinking about it, and if there's
I
any,
should have, yeah.
if there's
I
anything
did.
we need to discuss, we can do that at the next meeting.
Okay.
Anything else? Okay, I'm going to vote that we adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
All in favor?
Aye.
Any
Look
opposed?
at that.
I think Josh seconded it. I don't know.
Sure, I seconded
Well,
it.
I'm not sure, do we have to, I don't know.
I don't know.
Because you gotta have the Robert's Rules of Order quiz, and there's no reading list to join the commission.
There isn't, maybe there should be.
Could make
It's
one
an
up.
easy one, you
I
know.
could make one up.
There you go.
Yep.
I've
I got a
often
couple of
wondered
soils,
what
wetland
should they-
wetland soil
what should be
science for the
voted on,
dummy
what
and,
should-
that kind of stuff, for the
There you
zoning
go.
board.
Expenditures,
I don't even have
Yeah.
anything close to that.
Yeah, I don't know if we need to do it, but
But who did second, as long as you
Fur
did
bearing,
it?
large fur bearing.
we're all in
mammals of,
agreement that we
New
don't want to
Hampshire.
stay any longer than
That's
necessary.
Charismatic.
That's a very
charismatic.
hard book to find.
Yeah, the
If you find
charismatic.
one, let me know. They're expensive.
What, large fur-bearing manors?
Like-
Residents to be avoided.
And
Like
can we
Fur
turn
Bearers
that
of
off?
North America is like a very,
It's
it's
a
a
good book.
coveted,
It's a good book.
Thanks.
coveted book.
All right, thanks, everybody.